Welcome in for another edition of Bet on this Friday afternoon, getting you locked and loaded for March Madness Part 2, baby. It was madness yesterday, and God knows what is in store for us today. I'm Anita Marks. Joining us, Andre Snellings. We'll talk some NBA, getting you ready for some NBA action, and Dalen Cuff. Man, the most wanted man right now on these ESPN platforms, talking all things college basketball. But let's bring in Dre. Dre, how you doing? I'm wearing my Aaron Rodgers Jets t-shirt. We're all on Aaron Rodgers watch right here all over New York and New Jersey. So, I got to sport it, dude.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And, I'm always NFL, but I'm a Bengals guy. So I'm on Orlando Brown celebration. We got us an offensive lineman.
Yes. By the way, I knew his father, Zeus. I used to host sports talk radio with Zeus. Big fan of Orlando Brown, and I do like the Bengals to win the championship this coming year. But let's talk some NBA. We always like to start off Friday with the good word. Here we go. Embiid, now the favorite to win the MVP at minus 115. Jokic was 4-1 7 days ago. What has changed? What is your good word, Dre?
Torch, as in it's time to pass the torch. Jokic has been the back-to-back MVP. He beat Embiid directly. They went 1-2 each of the last 2 years. But this year, Embiid has finally done enough to surpass the Joker. We'll talk more about this a little later in the show. But just quick summary, Embiid has a slightly better statistical footprint. His team has a slightly better record. He outplayed Jokic handily head-to-head this season. And it's just his turn. So I just think it's time for the torch to pass from the Joker to the troll.
I'm going to use the word fleeced, as in robbed, if the Joker doesn't win it. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, because the last few weeks, he's like maybe assist or a rebound away from a triple-double. Dude averages a triple-double every night. I can't remember the last time Embiid put up a triple-double. He only averages about 3 assists a game. So, oh, by the way, last time I remembered, this was a team sport. Now, it'd be one thing if you're telling me, like, okay, the MVP is given to a dude who goes one-on-one on a basketball court, right? But that's not the case. And I understand the Nuggets, they've been losing as of late. The 76ers, they're 8-3 with a plus 7.9 point differential the last few weeks, but it is a team sport. I do believe that if the Joker does not get the MVP, he will have been fleeced. That is my good word. Question number 2, the Bucks. And this is interesting, Trey. The Bucks are favored to win the NBA title, but they are second favorite behind Boston coming out of the East. What's your good word?
Djokovic, as in the other Joker. So for you tennis fans out there, the debate for like a decade was Roger Federer or Rafa Nadal. Who was the best? Who was going to end up with the most majors? When in reality, it turns out the debate should have been Rafa versus Djokovic. And that applies here because the debate in the East and to win the championship shouldn't, in my opinion, be the Bucks versus the Celtics. It should be the Bucks versus the 76ers, with the 76ers in that Djokovic role. And so, the Celtics, like Federer, started off the season really strong. They were the best team for the first 3 months of the season. But since both the Bucks and the 76ers have started getting healthier, they've since caught up and surpassed the Celtics. And in our ESPN Basketball Power Index, BPI stat, the Bucks and the 76ers are now 1-2 in the East. So they are the two that should be competing for the East and the championship. With the 76ers in that Djokovic role, which, by the way, makes them good value at 12-1 to win the championship and 5.5 to 1 to win the East.
So my good word is schedule here. I went online to look at the schedule, the remaining schedule, just a few weeks left in the regular season. The Bucks' strength of schedule is a tad more difficult than Boston. The Bucks still have to face the Nuggets. They still have to face the Grizzlies. Also, the Bucks have not been as consistent as Boston has. I think also Boston, they're starting to get healthier health-wise, and they're peaking at the right time. To me, that's the only reason why I think this makes sense. I still like the Bucks to represent the East. And I do believe that they will get the number 1 seed in the East, but only time will tell. We'll see. Let's talk some college hoops. Here's your question. After yesterday, wow, what a wild Thursday it was. Can't wait for today. I've got my 3 TVs set up in my living room. Not sure if you follow me on Twitter, what my setup is. It's actually quite good. A number 2 seed will win the NCAA tournament, and you could get that at plus 330. Dre, are you playing it? What's your good word?
Fat Joe, as in the rapper Fat Joe. He's gone viral in recent weeks for making the statement that yesterday's price is not today's price. And so yesterday at this time, I think this might have been a good bet. But since yesterday at this time, Arizona went out and lost and destroyed a whole bunch of people's brackets. There are still 3 good 2 seeds out there, but I think that if you check, Arizona was probably the 2 seed that was winning the championship on the most brackets coming in. So with them down and now there's only 3 left, and arguably those 3 aren't as strong as Arizona was, I'm fading a 2 seed to win the tournament now because, like Fat Joe said, yesterday's price is not today's price.
So my good word is possibly. Possibly. Obviously, Arizona's gone, so now we're talking about 3-2 still remaining. Texas, listen, Houston, that game against Northern Kentucky, too close for comfort for me. I think at one point in time, Northern Kentucky was leading. Of course, Houston, they pulled it out in the end, but the score of 63-52 does not indicate just how close that game was. UCLA, they looked great late last night, but can they do it against better competition, especially Gonzaga and UConn coming out of that region of death? And then I've got Marquette losing to either Michigan State, Kentucky, or Tennessee. So possibly, if I had to say one, I'd probably lean towards Texas more than any other. But possibly is my good word. Dre, hang tight, chill. We're going to come right back to you. We got Dalen Cuff waiting in the wings. Like I said, the most wanted man today and probably the next 2 weeks on all our ESPN platforms. So, Dalen, great to have you on Bet. Let's dive right into it. NC State and Creighton. I've got Creighton possibly upsetting Alabama in this region. I hope we're on the same side here. Creighton favored by 5.5. The over-under is 148.5. How are you playing this one?
We are not on the same side, Anita. I do have Creighton in the Elite Eight. Now, this is where we talk about bracket versus betting. Like, from the bracket standpoint, I think Creighton, I had them beaten Arizona. I was out on Arizona pre-tournament, and we kind of saw why. Lack of athleticism in their guards, lack of dynamism, and ability to score at times in the half court against decent teams. That said, you've got a situation with Creighton and NC State where you have really good guards on NC State side of it. So I'm taking them in the 5 points. Terquavion Smith is a pro. You're going to be probably a top 20 pick. Jarkel Joyner is a bucket getter. It takes and makes a ton of tough shots. You really can't game plan for that. DJ Burns, a big inside, gives you something to battle with Ryan Kalkbrenner, maybe get him in foul trouble, which affects the Blue Jays on both ends. I like Creighton's team a lot. I'm a big fan. I actually have a plus 1,200 ticket in the Final Four from 2 months ago. So I guess, Anita, we're kind of aligned there. But in this game, I want NC State and the points. Creighton could still win this game, obviously, but I like that little wiggle room for the pack.
Yeah, I'm going to lay the 5 here. I think Creighton has better defense. Also, 77% from the free throw line, and NC State has the highest rate of getting their opponents to the free throw line. I think at the end of the game, that's where this line could cover. Also, Creighton, as you know, 5 players averaging double figures in scoring, and they have more experience. Game number 2. Oh, I hate this matchup. I can't wait to watch it. But it's too soon. And it's Iona going up against UConn. UConn's favored by 9. The over-under is 141.5. How are you playing this one?
I like UConn, and I think they're going to dominate in this game. I know Iona. We always say Iona and Rick Pitino. We get it. He's an outstanding coach. He's a Hall of Famer. He doesn't have the horses, though, in this game. This is the difference with UConn. You have bigs like Adama Sinogo that can score in the interior and defend in the interior. They got Tristan Newton, a great guard, Jordan Hawkins. They got guys all over the floor that can make shots and score in different ways for UConn. When they're defending like Danny Hurley wants them to, they're elite. They showed that earlier in the year. They went 14-0 and didn't win by less than 10 points. Note the spread here. They went through some swoons and struggles throughout the Big East. I think they're back on the ascendancy. I love this team. I think they can go to the Elite Eight. I have them losing to Gonzaga at that point in my bracket, but I think they throttle an Iona team that isn't as good as some of Rick Pitino's previous Gale squads.
See, I hate this matchup because I think UConn is better than a 4 seed. But I do like Rick Pitino and Iona getting the points. They've won 14 straight. Rick, we know he's been there, done that. He's got a lot of history in this tournament. They've got a solid offense. Defensively, 3 players as well on offense averaging 15 points a game. And their defense is holding opponents to 70 points per game, if not less. So I do believe UConn wins, but I do like Iona getting the points. Number 3, we've got Drake going up against Miami. This very well could be one of the best games today, right? And we've got a Miami team. They're favored by 2.5. The over-under is 146. Everybody's waiting to hear whether or not Omier is going to play or not. Everything we're hearing right now is it looks like he is. But will he be 75%? Will he be 95%? Who knows? How are you playing this, Dalen?
That's big. Norchad Omier is their one true big. He's 6'7", but plays about 7'1". He's got a huge wingspan, big body. He also can step out and knock down a shot. So he's a matchup problem, as is the rest of this Miami team. They have, again, bucket getters. A general principle for me is I'm leaning towards more offensive teams in the first and second rounds, teams that can score. Miami has Isaiah Wong, the player of the year in the ACC. Jordan Miller, one of the biggest and most difficult matchups, is a 4-man that knocks down threes at a 40% clip, can score in the post, can score off the bounce. Nigel Pack, another bucket getter. Wooga Poplar, I can keep going. They have a ton of guards you can't game plan for. Oh, yeah, and a lot of these guys run their Elite 8 team last year when they went there as a 10 seed. They still have that chip on their shoulder. They feel that they're being disrespected. They won the ACC. Nobody cares. They're a 5 seed. I love Drake, but I think Miami wins in a tight one here. It's a tough matchup. I think Drake's a very good team. If they weren't playing Miami, a couple of the other 5 seeds, I would have had them going maybe even to a Sweet 16.
I loved Miami about 2 weeks ago, right? And then they lost to FSU at home. And then they lost to Duke in the conference championship. There's something about this Drake team, right? Like since February, Dalen, they are the 12th best team in college basketball. Meanwhile, University of Miami, they dropped to 62nd. Drake, they've been 8-1 since February. They've got a lot of experience. They have 4 fifth-year starters that will be taking the court. So I think the points are too good here. I think Drake might even pull the upset, especially if Omier is not. He comes in maybe at 80%. We'll see. Last but not least, Kent State going up against Indiana. Indiana is favored by 4. It was 4.5. It's dropped. And the over-under is 140.5. What's your play?
Indiana's one of the biggest Jekyll and Hyde teams in the entire country. We've seen them win it at Purdue in rather commanding fashion. We see them lay eggs throughout the Big Ten tournament, the Big Ten season, excuse me. Trace Jackson Davis, a beast. You're always going to get something from him. But Jaden Hood-Schifino, a future top 20 pick in the NBA draft, maybe lottery pick, he's just up and down like a lot of freshmen. You don't know what you could get from him. He had 35 in one Purdue game. The next game he had 0. Like, it's remarkable. This Kent State team is consistent in their defensive effort. They are physical. They are tough. They've played some high-major opponents. They played Houston to a tight game, lost by 5. They played Gonzaga, lost by, I believe it was 7. After that game, Mark Few said, that's a Sweet 16 team. I think he knows what that looks like. I think Kent State wins this game. I'm taking the 4 points, but we talk about bracket. In my bracket, I have them beating Indiana, but I want the 4 points here just in case.
Oh my gosh, this is the only game we agree on, Dalen. That makes me feel good. Yes, I love Kent State as well, and really impressive in regard to their 3 road wins against Gonzaga, against Houston, against Charleston. You know, Charleston didn't win yesterday, but nonetheless took it to San Diego State. So I'm with you. I think they check all the boxes in regard to being like a complete mid-major that I think could make some noise. All right, with that being said, what is your Friday game? Take it to the bank. This is it. This is your best bet you feel the most confident about. What play is that for this Friday?
And it's VCU money line. Forget the points, Anita. I don't want them. They're taking on St. Mary's. This is your 12-5 matchup. They're just the better team, I feel like, especially the defensive side of the ball. St. Mary's really struggles with length and athleticism and making you feel them on every possession. Well, that's exactly what VCU does. Top 6 in the nation defensive turnover rate, top 20 in the nation in defensive efficiency. They don't just press you. They make it hard to score in the half court. They have guys and wings that can score in different ways. They aren't reliant on one guy to score. They do generate some offense off their defense. They do a good job of getting to the free throw line, have a high free throw rate as well. And Ace Baldwin. Last but not least, they got a point guard that's a stud. And I did a bunch of A-10 games this year, and I talked to Ace about certain point guard matchups. And he would relish the opportunity to have other point guards across from him and win that matchup. He did it against Yuri Collins, against St. Louis. Yuri led the nation in assists. Everybody wanted to talk about him. Well, Ace went into his building, dropped 37, and they walked out of St. Louis with a W. They won the A-10 regular season. They won the conference tournament, led by Ace and Aiden Mahaney for St. Mary's, a freshman that gets a lot of pub. He's a very good player. I think Ace is going to want to own him. I think he dominates that matchup, and I think VCU wins.
For me, it was interesting. When Weimar, our producer, sent us this show question, I was like, wow, I really like Drake. I really like Kent State. But let's talk about a match that we haven't talked about yet, and that's Kennesaw State. Give me the points. Give me the 12 against Xavier. Everyone can shoot with this Kennesaw team, right? 37th in three-point percentage. They could put up anywhere between 20, 22 threes per game. You never know if they go off. They've got a lot of experience. Seniors and juniors who fill out their starting roster. And Xavier, without, of course, Fremantle, I think they're going to have a problem. Bad perimeter defense as well. So Kennesaw getting the 12 is my take it to the bank Friday play. All right, before we let you go, let's look forward to Saturday. There are some lines out, obviously, from those games that were played yesterday. So give me one or two Saturday plays that folks can go to the window early on.
I already put mine in for Duke -3. I'm worried that's going to move. I think the public's going to be on Duke given their recent performances and recent performances of Tennessee. But don't be fooled by just that. I know that always scares everybody, and it scares me too sometimes, the public money coming in and everybody on one side. But when you watch, this is not just a flash in the pan. Duke, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, have been an elite team. They are elite defensively. They blasted Oral Roberts. A good Oral Roberts offense, didn't score for the first 8 minutes of the game. They could not get a good shot. Duke has length, athleticism, versatility on the perimeter, and a great rim protector in Derek Lively. They have 2 7-footers. That affects them on the offensive end, too. But Kyle Filipowski can knock down threes. Freshman of the year in the ACC. Jeremy Roach is their leader, their experienced guy that's been there before. He helped them get to a Final Four last year. The rest of the guys are inexperienced, and they lean on Roach. This is very similar, potentially, to the 2015 model that won a national championship. Quinn Cook was the one old head with a bunch of freshmen around him and maybe an Emil Jefferson that led them to a title. I think Duke wins this game, crushes Tennessee, who cannot score, playing without Sakai Ziegler, their best offensive player in terms of creating the ball, creating shots for himself and his teammates, 5 assists a game. He's done for the year. Their offense is just putrid. I'm going Duke, hard for Duke. Furman, give me the points. I had Furman with the points yesterday. Some people had Furman on the money line as well. We talked about that in the show. I had Furman winning in my bracket against UVA. I had them losing against San Diego State prior to watching San Diego State yesterday. Play a Charleston team that's similarly built to Furman, but I think Furman's better than Charleston. I think they have more play creators and a little more physicality in the interior to score that way. San Diego State's offense is just rough, man. Every possession down is a slog. They got us to cover City with 2 late free throws. Thank God, that was my best bet. But I'm going Furman in the 6 points tomorrow against a San Diego State team that I think will struggle to blow them out, especially on a quick turnaround with a very good shooting team in Furman.
All right, I've got one for you, and that's Furman and San Diego State, and I like the under here at 138.5. San Diego State, the under is hitting 13 of their last 16 games. Top 10 defense in college basketball. They dictate the pace. We saw it against Charleston. They held Charleston to 57 points. And Furman, kind of middle of the pack in regards to tempo and how they run their offense. So for me, it is the under of 138.5 in that Furman San Diego State game. Dalen, this is where we say hasta la vista, but your job is not done, my friend. You are on all the ESPN platforms, kicking butt, kicking names. And of course, I'll see you tomorrow morning, special edition of Daily Wager tomorrow morning at 10:30 in the morning. I'll see you then, Dalen. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anita.
All right, we bring back Dre. Dre, I know you and I talk a lot of NBA, but I'm sure you dabble in some college hoops, my friend. With that being said, who do you have winning this whole damn dance?
Yeah, there's a battle in my house. My 2 oldest kids picked Duke on the bracket, but I went with Alabama. And, I understand why they picked Duke. My son was actually born at Duke's hospital, and Duke hasn't lost in more than a month. So I understand the pick. But for me, Alabama was the best team top to bottom over the course of the season. And that was before the number 2 and 4 seed in their bracket lost yesterday. So I really like them to make the Final Four and have a chance of cutting down the nets at the end. So I'm picking Alabama.
All right. We each and every week have Dre on the show on Fridays because he submits a phenomenal column each and every week talking NBA, and we like to recap what that column is sharing with the people right here on Bet. So let's talk. Earlier today, we talked about the MVP race, and of course you addressed that in your column in regard to the real plus minus, right? And how you think the MVP front runner is doing, and what did you find there in regard to value and how you would recommend people wager on that MVP race.
Absolutely. So when we talked about it earlier, you were pointing out that Jokic has been right at averaging a triple-double all season, and Embiid hasn't. But the thing is MVP isn't necessarily a triple-double award. It's supposed to be who's the most valuable, whose presence on the court correlates most with their team's success. And we have a stat for that, real plus minus RPM. And according to RPM, Joel Embiid is actually tops in the NBA in RPM this season. Each of the last 2 seasons, when Jokic has edged Embiid for the MVP, he also had a slightly higher RPM score. This season, Embiid is number 1, and we see Jason Tatum as number 2. And there's another version of the stat that's not per 100 possessions, but is instead including all minutes played. It's called wins. And Tatum and Embiid are 1, 2 in wins as well, and Jokic is actually 5th. So, Embiid is the player who has the highest value in what I consider the MVP stat. And so I think that's why he's earned his first MVP award this season.
So just out of curiosity, so you have Tatum at 2. Let's just say that Boston surpasses the Bucks and gets that number 1 seed in the West. Is there a chance outside of Jokic, outside of Embiid, that Tatum or somebody else could swoop in and win this award?
Yeah, so, as I just laid out, I think Tatum has a good statistical argument, but in the real world, practically speaking, Tatum doesn't have like the cachet and quite the box score stats this season, I think, to make a real run at it. If you look at his odds, he's down to like 50-1 to win the MVP. But the Greek freak, Giannis, he's, as we see on the screen, he's 3-1, and he could certainly he's already gotten into the race. A few weeks ago when Jokic seemed like he had it won, Embiid and Giannis were both relative long shots. But now Embiid is up at the front, and Giannis is right there with him. The Bucks have the best record in the NBA. Giannis still puts up video game numbers on a daily basis. And I think the general perception is that he may be the best overall player in the NBA. And that weighs in as well. So I still think it's Embiid's to lose, and Embiid and Jokic are battling. But don't count out the Greek freak who could slide in there at the end if the Bucks finish strong.
All right, Dre, it's about that time we feed the people. I know everybody's all in on NCAA action, but there are some NBA games tonight on the slate. So let's talk about 2. The first one, the 76ers in Charlotte taking on the Hornets. They are favored by 10.5. The over-under is 227.5. Do you have a play in this matchup?
I do. I have 2 plays. I'm playing the over 227.5, and I also have a player prop of Joel Embiid over 46.5 combined points and rebounds. I'm staying away from the side because, road heavy favorites scare me this season. There's the home dog that's double-digit dog has outperformed for most of the season. So I'm going to stay away from that. But the Hornets are atrocious defensively in the paint. And, of course, that's where the 76ers thrive. And so I could see both teams putting some points on the board. Our BPI game predictor stat predicts this game to go way over with an estimated total over 250 points. I don't know if I'll go that high, but I will go over 227.5. And as far as Embiid, the Hornets are last in the NBA in rebounds allowed to opposing centers, and they're 4th from last in points allowed to opposing centers. They're really thin in the middle. And the only time this season that Embiid has faced the Hornets, he dropped 53 and 12 on them. So I like him to go over 46.5 tonight.
I like it. I'm with you lockstep with the over. That's my play here. The 76ers, 3rd offensive efficiency, ranked in the NBA. The Hornets, they actually have been playing pretty well at home. They shot 57% from the field on Tuesday. The over has hit 4-1 in the 76ers' last 5 games on the road. And we've been talking about it. Embiid chasing that MVP. He's got to ball out. So not only do I like the over, I'll put some coin on your prop bet as well. The other game tonight, big one, right, with some postseason implications, and that's the Dallas Mavericks going up against the Lakers. Lakers at home, favored by 5.5. The over-under is 226.5. Dre, what are you doing here?
I'm going to take the Lakers and give the points because Anthony Davis is probable to play tonight. And in the last 5 games that Davis has played, the Lakers are 4-1 with an average scoring margin of plus 7.6. Whereas on the other side of the court, we don't know for sure if Kyrie Irving is going to be able to come back for the Mavs. He hasn't played in 3 games. Neither he nor Luka have played in the last 3 games. But even before, when they were both playing, the Mavs still weren't winning. You know, they were, I want to say, 2-4 in their last 6 games. And that was with both Kyrie and Luka playing. We know Luka's out, and Kyrie is iffy. He hasn't played in 3 games. He made it through a practice yesterday. He may play, but the Lakers, you know, when Davis is playing, it seems like it's all come together. And so I like them tonight, even given the points, even if Kyrie plays, and we'll see how it plays out on the court.
Yeah, I'm on the Lakers side tonight for a number of reasons, right? Like Western Conference significance. This is the Lakers team ever since the trade deadline, Dre. As we know, they've done extremely well. You know, they're 1 game back to Dallas, so there's an added motivational factor there. You talked about how no Luka, even if Kyrie plays, he's dealing with a foot issue. You know, what percentage? Will he be 75, 80%? And the way that the Dallas Mavericks defense matches up against what the Lakers are doing well, and you talked about AD averaging 24 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists a game. The Lakers, they're scoring 39% of their points are around the rim. Meanwhile, Dallas defensively, they rank 20th in rim percentage shooting to their opponents. So they're not a good rim protecting team. So I think AD very well could go off tonight as well. So I do like the Lakers. Dre, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. Good luck with all your NBA plays, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Looking forward to it.
You got it. All right, as always, we'd like to end the show with before I let you go, we were thinking about maybe should I give you some more XFL plays? What should we do? Let's hit on 2 of my favorite plays that are still on the slate and we can get right now tonight. One in the NBA, and this was my best bet on Daily Wager just about an hour ago. And you've got the Hawks going up against the Golden State Warriors tonight, right? And so I like DeJounte Murray over par. Points, assists, and rebounds combined. And right now you can get that at 30.5. And I would play that now because I have a feeling as the day progresses, this is going to go up. The Warriors, they are just a horrible road team. They've lost 9 straight. They're 7-27 on the road. I know, and they're still the 6th seed in the West. Mind-boggling. Anyway, Draymond Green is suspended. Why? His 16th technical. So he's out. Higgins is out for personal reasons. So now you've got a Warriors team. They're missing 2 of their best defensive players tonight. And Golden State plays with the fastest pace rate in the NBA. So I think Murray just absolutely goes off. The fact that you can get this right now at 30.5, it was 29.5, so it's already jumped up 1. Again, run, don't walk to the window. I would play this right now. And one more game we didn't touch on in college basketball, and that's FAU going up against Memphis. I like FAU getting the points. They're 4-2 against the spread. They are one of the hottest teams coming into the tournament. They're 31-3 in Conference USA, and not only was the record impressive, but they just dominated. They dominated games. They've got a lot of depth. They have 7 players that average about 20 minutes, if not more, a game. So what happens? There's a good rotation going on. So these guys are staying fresh. Great offense. One of their players, Davis, he averages 13 points a game. He's shooting 50% right now, which is great considering they're here in the tournament. Also, they're a very disciplined team. And here's where I very well, dare I say that the wrong team is favored here? Because FAU, their net ranking is 10 higher than Memphis. And I get all the reasons why Memphis is favored. But I just, my gut's telling me, I like FAU. I like the Owls getting the points. And I might even play them on the money line. I think they just might upset Memphis today in the tournament play. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching Bet. Really do appreciate it. Thank you, Dre. Thank you, Dalen. You guys enjoy the rest of the tournament this weekend, and we'll be back with you next week to get you locked and loaded for week 2. We'll see you then.